is Michael's show. Geez, he's looking well too. But look at him all scrubbed up and smiling in the back.
I got powder on my face and all.
I know, you're still there.
Hey, you look like it.
I'm worried about you, Mick.
Yeah. Well, I spent a little bit along with 3 hours. Right hand I have to work with, and it's not a hand that'll do all the things you want to do. You have to make it work. But holding the brush, I have to rest my hand, my wrist on the side of the table to hold the brush, and I can't straighten the brush properly. And it's a bit of a trick, but you do it easy and slow. And if you see something nice, you keep trying. And the colours was my biggest problem too, to get the right colours and match them, mix them together. I have to try and do that with the brush. And
how do you pick that brush up with your hand?
It can fall out of my hands several times, but eventually I get it straight. That it works that way. I dip it in the paint and I slobber along.
Running.
So basically, Michael and I are cousins, and Michael was a builder, and sometimes he had a bit of a problem with the muscles and a little bit of a heart problem, Michael, and this is what led to this situation.
Oh yeah, well that's why I'm here. That's why I'm sitting in the chair, and I never thought I had anything wrong with me. This time a year before March last year.
Yeah.
About a year.
Oh.
And I didn't know I was getting a heart attack. I had pains in my chest, and I thought it was a chest infection.
Yeah.
My shoulders was paining me. But when I went into the doctor first, I was after being the November before that. This is the whole story you seem to want. It all started with my feet, with a little bit of swelling on the 2 feet.
Yeah.
And that was in November 2017.
Yeah.
And I was away playing bowls in Mayo for a week.
Yeah.
Drove down, played me bowls, drove back, and Gerald was at me about going into the doctor about the feet. And I says I'd do it when I come back. So I did. Went into the doctor. He looked at me ankles. He didn't take off my shoes or anything, just looked at me ankles from the distance. And he sat down and started looking at his book, changed some of my tablets, and gave me a water tablet. So I started taking them, and we had a meeting of a football club with the AGM coming up on the coming Friday from that time. And I didn't shave or wash myself or anything that week. I wasn't feeling that well. I began to feel kind of groggy during the week. And went to go get a wash on the Friday before the meeting so that I'd see would I be able to go. So when I took my shirt off, my back was covered in a rash.
Good God.
And I assumed then that was the tablet, the water tablet. And went to the doctor, said at the meeting. And so there was a different doctor I met, and he started looking at me and told me I was dehydrated and that my potassium was low. And he was just standing looking at me saying this to me. I did exercise each morning for about 5 or 10 minutes. The weekends, nothing. Well, there was these two fellas, and they decided to go to the pub. And they went into the pub. I knew they got themselves plenty of drink. They didn't come out till they were drunk. And on their way home, they decided to go into an orchard and raid it. So they went in and they got a lot of apples out of it, and they brought them with them. And they were on the way home. They came to the cemetery, and they decided to go into the cemetery and count out the apples. So when they went in, they let a couple of them fall at the gate. There was 2 apples that fell at the gate anyway, but they went in and sat down on a headstone and started to count out the apples. And sure, they were going along, 1 for you, 1 for me. And at this stage, there was a couple of other lads coming home from the pub, and they were drunk. And they were dawdling along past the cemetery, and they could hear the 2 lads. They didn't know what it was. They could hear the sound of the 2, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for you, 1 for me. And they thought it was God and the devil counting out the souls, the good ones and the bad ones. And they came to the ones that remembered the 2 that dropped at the gate, and they said, and what about the 2 at the gate? And the 2 boys were only just passing at that time. they thought it was them they were talking about. And sobered up straight away and disappeared like a shot. Yes, we gone.
I would be too.
That 400,000 people in Ireland suffer from loneliness, and the percentage only increases with age. So how do we tackle the issue of rural isolation and ensure that the most vulnerable in our communities are looked after?
Well, the students of Eureka Secondary School in County Meath saw how this growing epidemic was affecting the elderly in their community and set up a new social innovation called Never Home Alone. And joining us now to tell us more is Nora Barry, one of the students involved, and Michael O'Connell, who has benefited from the project. Good morning to you both. Thank you for joining us today. Nora, we'll start with you. You're in transition year at the moment. So did you have a requirement to come up with a project? How did this whole project come about?
So there's a competition called the Young Social Innovators, and you have to find an issue that you feel needs addressing in your community. So we wanted to focus on mental health and loneliness, but since that's such a wide subject, we were like, how can we focus on it? So one of the girls in our class was saying that her grandmother she put herself into an nursing home because she felt so alone and she didn't want to be a burden on her family. And we were like, that really hit home for us, so we said we would focus on the elderly generation and loneliness that affects them.
So how does the actual initiative work then? How many of you are in the class and are involved in the initiative?
There's about 29 of us in the class altogether, and we came up with an 8-week programme so we could get the people in our community involved in our project. So we got the elderly in our community, we set up a programme, so we got activities every week, like cooking and maybe arts and crafts and stuff like that. So we would, every week, we'd meet up with them and have a conversation and just get to know them.
We have to give a shout out at this stage to your lead teacher on this, Stephen McKee, because he's sort of the catalyst for all of this. Did he sow the seed with you, or did he point you in this direction, or did he come up with this and say?
When the girl obviously told us our story, he came across a report by Dr. Keith Swanwick and it's called A Connected Island, and it's a report about loneliness in Ireland and its health implications on people and also on the older generation, and that also inspired us to continue our project.
I mean, there are statistics about how damaging loneliness can be, because you think of loneliness as, a condition or a state of mind. You don't think of it as a medical condition that can damage your health, but there's quite serious figures.
People would often just accept it as something that comes with old age, but it's also they say their studies show that it's as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which makes it more life-threatening than obesity. And it also shows that people who are elderly, who are lonely, could on average die 6 years earlier than people who say they aren't lonely.
They're very serious statistics.
People buying stuff they don't need on catalogues just so that they can have a conversation with the postman.
Basic human interaction, it just isn't there, and that's why we really wanted to push the people in our community to come in and to maybe step out of their comfort zone and just get to know us and solve their problem. Okay, well,
let's talk to one of the end users, so to speak. Good morning, Michael. How are you? Michael O'Connell.
Michael O'Connell, yes.
What is your life like, and what was your life like before you came in contact with this project?
Well, I do consider myself to be very lucky. My whole life was tough, but I enjoyed every minute of it for some reason. My parents, I suppose, were a very important part of my life, and it's really only now I'm beginning to love them the way I should. Probably didn't know it at the start. But loneliness, I never let myself get lonely, and I have to say that I'm happy actually. And I'm here on this year, and I adjusted to how I am and what way I'm going to be, and I'm not going to get better.
Can I ask what age you are, sir?
I'm 80. I was 80 on the 29th of March.
Okay, so you're retired.
I'm a long time. You see, I got a problem with my muscles 20 years ago.
Okay.
And they started to waste away, and there was no cure for it, no medicine, no nothing. They didn't even know what it was, or still don't. And they just says to me one day, the doctor, that if they could cure it, they'd probably cure Alzheimer's. And I thought to myself.
So what about talk to us about family and the kind of people in your home, the people that you would see on a daily basis. I mean, I'm assuming as you get older, this reduces, obviously.
Well, it is. I have 3 daughters. and I have 2 sons, and the 3 daughters are like nurses to me at the minute. I'm very lucky, and they bring me places, and they do all the necessary things. I can't go to bed on my own, can't get up on my own, can't wash myself on my own, can't go to the toilet on my own. They do all these things for me.
But you're still in your own home.
I'm in my own home, and that's where I want to die. I told them not to leave me in the bed and let me die there when it comes to it.
So you have that level of independence, Michael, and yet it's still lovely to get involved in an initiative like this, whereby there's a massive generation gap between the transitionary, students
Yes.
and the participants involved. So did you have any reservations about getting involved, or did you
No.
immediately jump at the chance?
No, you see, I'm involved with the active retirement in Canarross, and it was there that Dean Kearns, he started
Does
it all
it say his name
to
on
this, and we got vetted on everything, which was part of the law, and he decided the first year that this was on, that was last year. I didn't get there because I was in the hospital. I had a heart attack a year ago, and then this year I came on again, and I missed the first meeting, but I was determined to get in to see what was going on. And the school, my own daughters went to the school, you see, as
You're
well.
very familiar with it then?
Yeah, well, I knew all about it. And as soon as I went in and I met Stephen, and he grabbed the wheelchair from the daughters at the car and wheeled me in. And he was shouting across the whole place, "This chairman of the football club," which I am. And I knew a good lot of the girls because they play football as well. Even though plays a bit of football, and she's
Everybody plays a bit of football.
Yeah.
Michael, because we haven't got that much time, can I ask you, you were quoted in the papers as saying that being involved in this became the best part of your day. Why was that?
It is, because when I went in, I got a vibe from the place and from the girls that this is great. You know, I could feel very well. I do. I feel young. Yeah, that's the way I do feel young, and I feel as good as anybody, as young as anybody.
But it's nice to know that people are interested in you. I mean, look, your family have to love you and take care of you.
Yeah,
We
well,
know
they do,
that.
they
But
do.
when strangers come along and they're interested in you and your stories and your life and what you can possibly teach them, does that make you feel good?
It does, of course. That's what I love. I love that. Like, they could try to teach me something and I mightn't be able to learn it, or I want them to learn it, maybe.
Well, maybe you
know,
teach them things.
But I could teach them how to milk cows and all that kind of stuff from way back. Plough with horses, I don't know, all that kind of
But
stuff.
I imagine, Nora, you're getting an awful lot from the experience as well, you and your peers.
Yeah, it's really like they stopped becoming more of a project and more of our friends, and that was really gratifying to us because you'd see the difference from maybe the first week they came in. It was kind of a bit awkward, but now like we really feel like we have like a bond and like friends for life maybe with them. And like the activities every week, it's fun. Like it's getting to know
Yeah,
them.
this isn't just a team-wide
Forward.
project that
Yeah.
you do this year and you won't do next year. I mean, so how could you leave or forget Michael?
But I do realise as well what it's like to be alone. Because I sit at home a fair bit as well, because I can't get up and run around. I can do a little bit of walking around my home carefully, because I can fall very easy. But if I do that, it'll hit my head first, and I don't want to do that. But the thing is that I have time to think about somebody that would be on their own in a house, and how would they face to help them. And some of them, I'd love to see you coming, and some of them would be sceptical, and it's a very hard thing to arrange or to do. And I feel that groups is the best thing, but then the ones that stuck at home that can't get out, how do you help them? And
Well, this
they
could
need
be
help.
something like this could be the one bit of
Yeah.
light in their day. Listen, it's we saw it in the paper the other day, and we were all struck by. We thought it was a wonderful project, not just because you're doing, but also it's a wonderful thing that possibly other people might be interested in rolling out. So if anybody is interested, why don't you contact Stephen McKee in Eureka Secondary School in Kells, and he'll tell you all about it and how to get it going. Okay, listen, it's lovely to meet you, sir.
Thank you,
And
Michael.
well done to you and all your classmates.
Thanks, Nora. Time now to get an update from the Virgin Media News.
Right, but he's doing a lot.
Yeah, he's doing, he's looking at
When is the band?